Hello, friend. I want to tell you about the Toyota Avensis car. There weren't many engines offered for this model, but they all fit perfectly. The petrol units have hardly changed after the facelift. They belong to the Valvomatic family, and, depending on their capacity, they reach 132 to 152 horsepower. It's basically one engine with a capacity of 1.6L, 1.8L, or 2.0L. Diesels are 2 and 2.2-liter engines from the D-4D family, with power from 124 to 177 horsepower. The 2.0D-4D engine was replaced with a BMW design in 2015 during the model change. The diesel engines in the previous Avensis were not great, but the newer ones from the 1AD Fae series were definitely better. They were installed in the Avensis III. The most serious problems of the predecessor were eliminated, but it is still an engine that can bring high costs in the event of a serious failure. That's why I recommend the petrol Valvomatic, which I will describe in this article. The design of the 1.6, 1.8, and 2.0 engines is almost identical, so the comments apply to every petrol version of the Avensis III. What's broken? The Valvomatic family of engines, factory designation ZR, debuted even before the car described here. They were supposed to be versatile enough to power larger models, from Urus and Corolla to RAV4. And so it turned out, Valvomatic turned out to be such a successful engine that we can still find it in Corolla and Urus Classic, which means that it meets the latest rigorous emission standards. The key to success is the Valvomatic variable valve lift system, which is continuously adjustable depending on operating conditions. The camshaft transmits drive via special cams. The shafts themselves are driven by a chain, which causes absolutely no problems, as do all the other components except the coolant pump. And here, unfortunately, there is a big risk. Water pump damage is easy to spot with regular coolant checks and conscious use. Unfortunately, Toyota users are often accustomed to the fact that nothing happens in their cars and rarely lift the hood. Unfortunately, leaks from the pump can be significant, and the failure is often noticed when there is already little fluid in the system. In the worst case, it can overheat and burn the head gasket. However, even this does not have to result in serious problems. Simply replace the gasket and you can continue driving. It is worth remembering this, and if you decide on a Valvomatic engine, you need to regularly check the coolant level. You can basically forget about the rest. That is conventional, of course, because proper servicing serves every engine. Valve adjustment is hydraulic. The chain remains maintenance-free, and only the oil needs to be changed every 15 kilometers. It is worth noting here that Toyota recommends a very low viscosity 0W-20 oil. You won't buy this at the first gas station. Even in many stores, you will have to order it specially. It is worth returning to such an oil if the previous owner used a different one. This may affect the trouble-free and long-term operation of the Valvomatic system. However, you can also successfully use 0W-3040ths or 5W-3040ths oils. Due to indirect injection, a relatively cheap gas system can be installed, which does not mean that a system for $500 will be a good solution. Valvomatic engines need precise fuel dosing, so it is best to choose a top-shelf sequential injection system for $750-1000. There are no problems with the durability of CVT automatic transmissions, although their specific operation requires getting used to. The 2.0-liter petrol reaches a maximum of 196 nanometers of torque, so neither the transmission nor the bevel gears are overloaded. And what about the rest? As I mentioned, the interior is not made in the best way, and the materials are of average quality, which unfortunately is also visible in used cars. In places, the upholstery can wear out or dent, and the plastics scratch quickly. The body is well protected against corrosion, but typically for the Japanese, a thin layer of delicate varnish has been applied. I advise against frequent polishing, especially mechanically. The bodywork is not impressive in terms of stiffness and can creak, but you should be especially careful when driving over bumps. We do not recommend attacking large bumps at excessive speed because the windshield can crack. The same can happen when driving out of a heated garage into heavy frost. The suspension is durable and cheap to repair. The rear axle is hard to wear out unless you overload the car, while the front consists of only one wishbone per wheel. The pin and bushings can be replaced. Is it worth buying a Toyota Avensis III? You shouldn't ask if it's worth it, but rather which engine version is worth buying. The good opinion about this model is evidenced by the prices and how long the ads for models bought and serviced in the country are up. In a word, they sell like hotcakes. From the engines described, it is best to choose a 1.8 or 2.0 liter unit. They are basically problem-free, especially the larger one, in which the liquid pump failure occurs less often. They provide power of 147 and 152 horsepower respectively, which is very similar and on par with a mid-range car. Although the 1.6-liter engine is not too weak, it remains an alternative for a person who does not care much about performance. Thank you for listening to me. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I did not mention, be sure to write about them in the comments.